Fantastic. So we are live. We are recording. Today is Wednesday, April the 10th, 2024. Welcome to the latest edition of the Couchbase Community Virtual Series. We're delighted today to have Dennis Rosa with us, whom I will introduce in just a moment. But before I do, I would like to introduce another colleague of mine, Caroline Kearns, relatively new, 2.5 months on the community team. So Caroline's based in Central Oregon in the US. Caroline's responsible for many things at Couchbase, including developer meetups, the ambassador program. You've probably seen Caroline pop up on Discord and other channels as well. Caroline, do you want to say a quick word before we get started about yourself or to the community?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to meet you. I'm glad you're all here today. We do have a couple questions in chat. Brian, is chat deactivated? Because people do not have access to chat, only to Q&A. I want to make sure that that is correct.
Yeah, good question. It must be deactivated. I think it's webinar chat. I will investigate that, but in the
Okay.
meantime, just pop any chat flash questions you might have in the Q&A box, and we'll see it there.
We'll answer that exactly. But yeah, happy
Yeah,
everybody is here. You'll see a lot of me, I hope, if you're around these virtual events. So yeah.
fantastic. So thank you, Caroline. So Dennis, I would say has been around at Couchbase for a while longer. I'm not sure how many years, but I'm tempted to say a veteran. Dennis is heads up our developer advocacy team, and they have their hands in many pots. They work on core product stuff. They work on tutorials, documentation, demos, many other things. But they also work on tools for making developers' lives easier. Some tools that we've been focusing on recently are our IDE plugins for VS Code and for JetBrains. That's what Dennis is going to talk about today. So thanks, Dennis, for participating, and we're going to hand it off to you now. Take it away.
All right. Thank you, Brian. As Brian said, yeah, my name is Dennis. Have been here at Couchbase for a couple of years. My team here at Couchbase, apart from sometimes public speaking, documentation, and a bunch of things, the main goal for us is to see Couchbase from outside in, and then because of that, we work a lot with improving the overall developer experience with toolings and integrations. So, I mean, if you want to see Couchbase integrated with something, there's a good chance that I am the right guy. So, very accessible on LinkedIn and other places. Just search Dennis Rosa. You should find me there. Or on Discord, of course. Just send me a message if you want to see like Couchbase integrated with something. But today, I guess we would like to talk a bit about the plugins because we are trying to, with the plugins, we're trying to make the Couchbase overall much easier for developers, right? We're trying to pack a bunch of things that developers think they're cumbersome in Couchbase in a single place, and then we try to automate all those things for you, right? And this is just to be clear, this is something made for you developers. So if you want to see something, or if you want to see like, oh, it would be nice if we could do this, just open a ticket on the project and we'll try to implement that ASAP. If you see the development process for this is really it's really fast. We are shipping pretty much like 1 or 2 releases per month, I would say. So if I have something that is simple, I can definitely implement this pretty quickly. We have some other things in the roadmap that we'll talk later on. But this is literally something that it does not go to any prioritization. You can even push your PRs there because it's fully open source. And yeah, and then we have both the JetBrains and the VSCode plugins. They have virtually almost the same features. The VSCode is a little bit behind, but we are catching up right now. And of course, when we talk about the JetBrains plugin, it works with Android Studio, with RubyMine, with Golang, with PyCharm, with IntelliJ. So all the IDEs from the JetBrains platform. Good. With that, let's get started. Okay, let me share my screen here. And can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Good. So when this is the this is JetBrains. This is IntelliJ actually, and I'm still getting used to the new UI because I didn't want to migrate to the new one, but okay, now I'm finally getting used to it. Once you install, I mean, to install the plugin is pretty straightforward. Let me just get rid of this zone thing here on top. Once you to install the plugin is pretty simple. You just let me just come back here. You just go to plugins, right? And then search for Couchbase and then click on Couchbase here and install. So it's already on the store. And once you start a plugin, you will see two new tabs. One here on the top here and one here at the bottom. Sorry, one here at the bottom. Good. So this is essentially the Couchbase result. I will talk about this a little bit later. And then this is where we call the Explorer, where you can navigate through your database. So to add a new data connection here, you can click here and add, let's say, local host. If you add Capella, all those things, it will prefill some of those things, so you don't need to worry. But in this case, I'm connected to a local database. And then I can type, let's say, administrator password, right? But let's say here that if I test a connection, you see, yeah, connection successful, cool. But let's say if I have some typo here, right? I can click on test connection and the connection will fail because the password is incorrect, right? And this is just one of the cases that can go wrong. Let's say you haven't opened all the ports for Couchbase. There's something, some unreliability in the connection. We do have one tool called SDK Doctor that helps you to debug these connectivity issues with the database. And then, in fact, it will say, hey, could not connect, open advanced settings and troubleshooting. And then if you open that and say, specify a valid bucket on your cluster. So in this case, I can say travel sample. And when you click on test connection again, it will run SDK Doctor automatically and debug and check if all the ports are open and what could be wrong with your connectivity, right? So this is what SDK Doctor, it already comes embedded with a plugin when installed. And then you can see like all the checks that we are doing here to make sure that you have all the ports open. And then finally you see, oh yeah, looks like you have some invalid bucket name and password, right? So in this case here, I can just come back and say administrator, text connection. It will say, okay, everything's cool, save. We are connected to our Couchbase cluster. Good. Once you are connected to your Couchbase cluster, I guess we have what you expect, right? You can just expand here, see the buckets, and you expand again, you see collections, you see scopes, and then you expand again, you see collections. And then, yeah, if you want to create a new bucket, you can just create a new bucket from here. If you want to add a new scope, you can just say, yeah, whatever, test scope here. And then if you want to create a new collection, right click, add new collection, and then you can say, yeah, my scope. And of course, in Couchbase, you support maxCTL. So what that means is like all documents, whenever you insert a document, you can set the default expiration for the document on the collection level. So let's say you say, okay, all documents here, whenever you insert a document, it will expire in 30 minutes. So you can say here, yeah, in 30 minutes, all the documents in this collection will be automatically purged, right? Whenever is this is set per document, right? Like, so is individual, like after you insert the document, 30 minutes later, it will be removed from Couchbase. But in this case, we don't want that. So you can just set as 0, cool. And you can create your collection here. Good. Another interesting thing, if you expand here, I already have travel sample loaded. And then we have our collections. The plugin also works if you only have KV, right? So some of you use Couchbase as a KV store, still works fine. Of course, not all the features will be here because some of them depend. They require the query service. But if you're just using Couchbase as a KV, you can also use the plugin, right? And then here, let's say I have this hotel, right? I can expand the hotel. And one of the things you see is the schema, right? So you can click on the schema, you will see the patterns. Like the patterns is all the different patterns of documents that we're seeing. In this case, we only have one, but I guess if I expand landmark, yeah, no, we still have one here. Let's see if I have 2 more here. Yeah, this is a brand new fresh database, but it will essentially identify different patterns of your document, or we call flavors, right? And then list them here. In this case, we only have one. And then when I expand the pattern, you see how your document looks like how a document inside the hotel collection looks like. So this is somewhere similar to a schema, right? Like a table schema in a relational database. And then when you hold on top of this, you can see some examples of the values, right? So you see type here is always hotel, but titles, okay, here are some examples of titles. For country, yeah, you have France, United Kingdom, and United States, and so on and so forth. And you can see, yeah, this is a Boolean, this is sometimes it's null, or is a string. This is an array, and then you can expand the array and see, okay, this is a date, ratings, and so on. So this is pretty good when you need to understand how your documents look like, right? Good. What else? Of course, we have here, let's say, hotel, this hotel. So you can just click on the document and it will open here. And now what I can do is, let's say I came here and give, say, Medway Youth Hostel 1. And I hit Control Save, right? Command Save in my case. If I come back to Couchbase server, let me go back here. I can show you just a moment. Password. And then if I come to Couchbase server and go to buckets, travel sample, scopes and collections, inventory, hotel, documents, right? We are in hotel. This is hotel underscore 10025. Good. Yeah, you see here, yeah, the document has already been updated in Couchbase as well, right? But now let's do one interesting thing. Let's come here and change it to 2, right? And save. And let's come back here and change it to 3 and hit save. Let's say, hey, there's a document conflict here because this document already changed in the server. So it will give you a chance to decide what you want to do and say, in this case, I can say, yeah, whatever, just replace this with my version. And cool, now your version is the latest one. What else? I can also, of course, create a new document. But here is where it comes a really good thing. Let's say I have, let's give this new document, let's call it my hotel, right? So you notice that I kind of already know how your document looks like, right? So if you click here, generate template document, we will automatically create a document. Sorry, I might need to go back to this, let's say airport, create document and say airport 2. and generate template. Yeah, it will automatically create the document, a new document with all the fields, all the attributes here, right, per field. So for instance, and this is like super handy so you don't need to type all the attributes because JSON tends to get pretty long. So this is really helpful to improve the overall developer experience. And even if you create, let's say, a document that is empty, right? We know what are the attributes there. So if you type like command space, which is control space in the Mac, command space? No, control space on the IDE, we will suggest the appropriate attributes for you. So yeah, there is a country, and you can say France. And now if I want to type this document, okay, a city and so on. And this is per collection. So we truly understand the structure of your document, right? Good. What else? Let me just go back here, move this window. We can also view the metadata of the document. So you can right-click here and click on the metadata of the document, right? In Couchbase, we have something called a meta space, where some attributes live. So for instance, you can, the idea of the document is not part of the body of the document in Couchbase. This is not the true ID of the document. The ID is in the meta space. And then you can see that this is the real ID of the document. And of course, you can also add some metadata here. And then you can just explore this the metadata here. What else? Of course, so you can see the view indexes. So you can see all the indexes here that you have for that collection, right? This one. And then you can right-click on the collection and view the stats for the collection. So let's say, for that index. And then if you have, let's say this index is a partition index that is in multiple nodes, you can see all the stats of all those different, all the partition of those indexes here. And since we're talking about stats, you can also come here and see the cluster overview, which is like the overall information about the cluster. So how many nodes, how many buckets, what is your quota run, stats about each node here, stats about each bucket as well. Good. We also have document filter, which is an interesting one. So let's say on hotel, let's say airport. Perhaps airport is more interesting. Right, so airports, we have a country, France, right? And you have many other different countries here, like US. Let's see if I can see another one here. You can click and load more. Yeah, have a bunch of them. Let's just pick France because it's the one that I'm listing here. But let's say I'm only interested in airports that are coming from France. In this case, I can, what are the chances that or like say even United States, right? Let's pick United States then. What are the chances that I'm seeing here the documents that I actually need? So in this case, what you can do is you can apply a document filter and you can say where country equals to, I guess, United States. Let's see if that works. And you can test, yeah, and then you can apply. And good. Now I'm only seeing documents from the United States, right? And this is one of the ways you can, if you're editing something and you are running something, you can at least filter the documents and only see the documents you're interested in. Another interesting thing that we are working right now, and this is a bit of work in progress, is if you see here on the schema, we have those chains here, which what we call, I mean, it is some sort of relationship mapping, right? That we are adding to the plugins. That Couchbase itself doesn't support relationship mappings. But let's say I can clear the relationship here, and I know that airline ID refers to the collection airline, the meta ID on the collection airline, right? So I can just come here and say add a relationship, and then pick airport and MetID and add. And now I know that there is a reference here. This is pretty good for you to just document your model, right? So all the developers can understand what's going on. And you can quickly come here to settings and relationship mapping, and you can export and import the relationship file if you need to. The main thing why we implemented this is because you see later on, there's a lot of chances for us to make better suggestions for you once we understand your model. So we can suggest joins, we can suggest indexes, and if you provide us this information, this is, by the way, stored on your local machine. You can just have a file that has all this information, and you can version the file. But the plugin can use those things as a hint to make better recommendations for you. And this is like, we are trying to leverage this more and more. One of the things that we are doing right now is, for instance, okay, cool. If you have this relationship mapping, you can at least come here and view some ER diagram of how your model looks like, right? And this is some of the things that we are rebuilding this because we want to show this in the editor here. But this is one of the advantages that you get if you spend some time mapping the relationship. Good. We also have the settings here. When you right click, you can go to settings, and we have this enable read-only mode. So the read-only mode, you essentially block all the operations that would allow you to change some document in the database or change something in the database in general. So for instance, you cannot like create a new collection, you cannot create buckets, you cannot delete anything. You're just reading, right? And even if you're trying to insert something, it will also block because the read-only mode is enabled. Another option that we also have is to set the colors, the connection colors. So I can say, okay, this connection here, whenever I connect to this cluster, I want to have this green color, which is very handy. Let's say whenever you're connecting to a production or stage environment, you set a color because then it's at least a good sign that, yeah, hey, it's yet another sign that can help you to be more careful when you're playing with this environment. What else? We also have the query, right? So you can come here and then you can query your cluster. And this is where it gets really interesting because we have the query history here. So you can pretty much like you have on the workbench, you have your query history, you have the favorites, and in the favorites here, you can see those are, you can save queries once you, let's say this will be a favorite, and then I can give some name here, whatever. And then this is now a favorite, and then you can come here and see your favorite queries here. And we also have some built-in queries. So built-in queries are queries that we think that are interesting for Couchbase developers. So for instance, queries that in this case, we have some documentation here. So for instance, queries that are running, that they're using the primary index, right? Because of course, we don't recommend you to use the primary index for queries in production. Or how many results queries are returning. Like what is the biggest, the biggest result that you got from queries? Let's say, okay, if you're running queries that are returning 3 megabytes of data, okay, that might be a reason, right? So it's some of those queries that we think that helps you to potentially debug problems, right, with your application or with the database. And then of course you can help us to expand the list if you want to see something, or if you're interested in some queries, reach out to me. I can add to this list here as well. Of course, we also have formatting and a few other things. You can, on the query here, you can set the, we have some settings. So you can change the query timeout. And then if you want to save the history or not, sometimes you're running some private information, you want to keep track of that here in the plugin. So you can disable that. And you can also set you can also run the advisor here, right? So when you click on the advice, we will recommend indexes for you. And what else? Let me just, this is because I run a pretty big query now. Let me just try to run another one here. Let's say limit 10. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, because I haven't, I can set the context here. So travel sample inventory, right? And I can run this query. I can actually click on advice, and it will explain whatever. I can come back to this later, but it will give some index recommendations, right? And as we're talking about the queries, here I'm just running a simple query, and you can see all the stats here. And then you can see this as a JSON, as a table. You can see the explain of the query as well. And you can also see charts. So let's say, okay, I don't want to limit this query. Let me run that query again. And I run the play. And then now I can say, okay, I want, let's say a pie, and the label is country, and the value is total. And then you can see the stats of, okay, what kind of, you can do some data exploration. It's of course not something designed to be for you to use the data exploration, but if you want to get some quick hints of your data, you can definitely explore the charts here. Another interesting thing, let's say I want to do something like, let's say I want to export airlines where ID is not missing, and country equals to United States, right? Let's run that. We automatically add a limit to your queries, so you don't need to be concerned of that. Let me just run this again. United States. Country. Yeah, country. Run this here. Okay, so we have a bunch of airlines here from the United States. Let's just limit this to 10, just keep it simple. Good. One of the cool things you can do here is you can export the results as well. So you can export to as a CSV, as a JSON, or even as a SQL++ insert, update, or delete. So let's say insert, right? And now what it will give you is, okay, just it asks you the collection name that you want to export this file. So let's give the name something like new, let's say airline 2. And then okay. And then, yeah, let me save to desktop. And now if I open that file, let me go back to desktop here. If you open this file with text edit, you see that, yeah, now I have a bunch of inserts that are inserting the data that I just exported. Right, this is pretty handy when you need to, especially if you are running some scripts that are constantly updating the data, you know, at least you can, it's a very easy way to roll back to the original state. Good, we have this, let's go, let's see. Yeah, we are adding automatic limit. We also have, I mean, one of my favorite features here. So if I start typing select star from airline A, one of the things you notice is that we are getting autocomplete, right? So if I say where A dot, it will suggest all the attributes from that collection. And this is one of the things that the plugin does in the background. We introspect the data and we automatically add the suggestions for you. But of course, like one of the things that we we try to do in Couchbase is, okay, we don't recommend you to add the select star, right? So, but it's pretty boring to come here and say, okay, a dot country, a dot name. This is madness, right? But with a plugin, what you can do is we automatically generate shortcuts for you. So for instance, if I type cell landmark, boom, it will automatically write the whole query for you, right? If you want to same for like cell airport, boom, the whole thing is, and we have a bunch of those. So you can cell C, select count, you can insert ins, and then it will add the syntax for you to insert the documents. And then one of the things that we are going to do next is, let's say, oh, you have select airline here. Good. Now, if you start typing join, we will start suggesting, this is a feature that we're working on right now, but if you type join, we will, based on, if you come back here to inventory, we have those relationships mapping, remember? So based on those relationship mappings, we can recommend you some joins as well. And then of course, with some obvious matches. So let's say if you have airline ID in some other place, there's a good chance that it refers to ID of the collection airline. So we will start recommending some of those things to you. And this is one of a lot of things that we are focusing on how can we make the overall experience for developers much easier and make working with Couchbase feel easier, you know. What else? We are okay, another interesting thing that we have here is the templates. So we have been working with a lot of quick starts. Let's say you want to create a new project with Couchbase and, let's say, Java, right? You can right-click here on New Project from Templates, and you can pick the location. Let's say desktop here. Let's create a new folder called Java project. Great, open. And then I can say, okay, yeah, I want this, some example of Couchbase Spring Boot in Java, right? I can hit OK. And then it will automatically clone that repo for you. And so just say, hey, trust project. And good, now you have here in the IDE a simple project showing you how to get started with Couchbase and Java and Spring Data, Spring Boot, sorry, in this case. And then all of the documentation is here. It already has like Swagger, everything working. So you have some really simple examples of how to do something with Couchbase. And we are trying to expand this list here. If you go to something called, we have a repo called, let me see here, github.com dash, that just a simple Couchbase. So we have an org called Couchbase examples, and we are pretty much adding a bunch of examples from there. So this is what you see here on the plugin is consuming from this those examples. And then we have a bunch of examples here that just show you how, okay, very simply, we show you how to get started with Couchbase plus some other technology, right? Yeah, if you want to also suggest any features, you can, or report bugs, you can just click here on the report bugs, and this is the project, right? So just go to Couchbase Labs, Couchbase JetBrains plugin, and then if you have any suggestions, you can come here to issues and just report one. Good. We also have a bunch of stuff like for importing and exporting data, right? So for instance, if you want to, let's say, clone this whole scope here, you can just right click and pick like simple import or simple export. A simple export will export all the data with the collections and indexes. And simple import will just import all the documents with the collections and the indexes as well. But we also have here under tools, we have the, let's say, DDR export. You can say, oh, okay, I want to export, let's say, travel sample, inventory, also include indexes, and I want you to save on desktop here. Open, I can export. Good, and now I can come back here to desktop and just open this one here with text edit. And you see, okay, now you have the scope, the definition to create the detail to create a collection, and the indexes for the collection. And the same kind of works with other things. So for instance, the plugin already downloads a bunch of tooling from Couchbase, and then we just add a UI on top of this. So for instance, if you want to run CB export, which is how you export data from Couchbase, you can just come here to data export, and you can say, yeah, I want to export data from travel sample. Let's say only inventory and tenant 00. And then the collections, I want all collections from tenant 00. And from inventory, I only want hotel. And then you can say, pick where you want to import and so on and so forth. Same for the others. We also have, let's say, pillow fight. Pillow fight is an interesting one. Pillow fight allows you to generate some load in the database, right? So we have a bunch of parameters here of things that you can do with the database, but let's say I can just click here and generate some a bunch of calls to the database. And then if you come back here, let's go to buckets, travel sample. If you go to dashboard, travel sample, yeah, we should see soon some data coming here. Okay, travel sample, I guess, or are we using default? Yeah, I guess it's travel sample. So eventually, yeah, Couchbase eventually will show you, but you can see some, yeah, finally we can see here some stats from the us generating some load against the database, and you can pick and choose a bunch of parameters here. What else? We also have, let me go back to my notes. We have one pretty nice thing here that we just added. Let's say, let me create a new scope called Influx, right? We have one new feature here called tools, MongoDB to Couchbase migration. And what this tool does, it will automatically connect to a MongoDB instance. You can pick what you want to migrate, and then we automatically create the collections, migrate the data, and migrate the indexes as well. So what we are trying to do is essentially analyze the MongoDB indexes and create similar indexes in Couchbase, right? So for instance, I have this this cluster of mine on MongoDB Atlas, and I can just go to next. And then it will list all the databases I have in MongoDB. Let me pick, let's say, sample Mflix. And then I can pick what collections I want to migrate from Mongo. In this case, yeah, I want to migrate everything, right? And I click on next, and I can inform where I want to store this data. In this case, travel sample Mflix, and import. And good, if you see the log here, you see the data migration happening. So we are migrating all like sessions and now embedded movies. What else? Users. And let's see, comments. I should have picked a small one. But yeah, and then essentially we are also working on adding support for migrating from Dynamo. I guess that will be the next. Good, the migration just ended. And then if you come here to Mflix, you see all the collections are already here, and you can click, and eventually you can see the schema. You can see, do the same stuff, right? Add the documents here. So if you're using MongoDB and you just want to perhaps explore the data in Couchbase, you can just do that. Yeah, what else? If you're a Couchbase Lite user, we also have support. Go for it.
Just jumping in. A question came in whether you'll be switching over to VS Code. Show anything there specifically? You mentioned earlier that it's a bit behind. So Oliver was commenting, the first look at VS Code doesn't show me query section and all the nice other tools, just Explorer.
Yeah, I guess if you right click on the cluster, you should see the workbench. I can we have some videos that we can share later, Brian, on like a plugin tour. But if you have the plugin, the VS Code plugin installed, most of the things should be there. Most of the crucial things should be there. There's, I guess, one of the few things that we don't have on VS Code yet is the autocomplete. But apart from that, the majority of things should be there as well. And if they are not there, they should come very shortly.
Another question that came in is, can Capella allow me to query by natural language? Now, my answer to that would be to try Capella IQ, our new Gen AI tool built into Capella. Is there any IQ capabilities within the plugins?
So, I mean, from the plugins, you have this IQ beta here. And what you can do is you can just sign in with your Capella account, right? And then from here, you can ask questions about, things about your database. Like, so IQ is aware of the schema of your database. Or you can just ask general questions about Couchbase, right? So in this case, okay, what is Couchbase? Am I connected to the... Yeah. So I can say, like, how do I connect to Couchbase? How do I connect to Couchbase using Java SDK? So there's a bunch of things that we are doing, and it is smart enough to ask you some additional questions, and it's a bit interactive, but this is one of the things that we are still in beta mode. I expect that in roughly a month or so, we should have release a new model that is pretty consistent, I would say. But yeah, you can ask general questions here on IQ. And this is the same API that you have on Capella today. When you have the IQ there, is the same one that you have here. So you can just ask some general questions. You can change your org and the few other things. So you can do this thing here. And regarding natural language, yes. I mean, if you ask IQ, hey, can you generate me a query on how can I query, let's say, you can ask questions about your schema. So I can say, hey, generate a query on travels inventory hotel. Let's say filter list all hotels by country, or like or where countries is equals to the United States. You can do that with IQ, and with but I guess you guys, this is pretty much a bot, conversational, but it is schema aware, and it is also trained with our documentation. So that should be a pretty good thing to do instead of just going to the documentation. And soon, what we are going to do, I guess probably in this new model, we will also add support for those external SDKs. So, for instance, have Spring Data, we have Ottoman, we also have for Couchbase Lite, we have the Dart SDK, and that's some of the things that we're adding, like all the sources that are external to Couchbase. We are just adding this knowledge base, and then IQ should be able to better answer questions like that. And then I guess we are almost running out of time, right, Brian? Let me just quickly show Couchbase Lite. So if you're
15 minutes,
if you are a mobile developer, right? You can we have a Couchbase Lite is the mobile database that Couchbase offers, and then with Couchbase Lite, you have something called Sync Gateway, and then you can automatically synchronize your mobile database with your remote Couchbase server, right? And what we allow you to do here is essentially, yeah, you can just explore your mobile database here. You can query your database here, and this is a slightly different database, right? Like it's a you don't have all the syntax that we have for Couchbase server here, but you can query this database using SQL++ syntax. And you can run a bunch of migrations here. Like, so if you are aware with Couchbase Lite, you can run the database optimization. You can optimize the database. Let's say you can add some blobs for each document. Let's say if I have a document here, you can also set the document exploration. You can attach a blob to the document as well, which is something really handy when you're a mobile developer. And we also have this sync replication mechanism, which allows you to enter some information, the information of the sync gateway, and see the synchronization happening in real time. So for instance, whenever you come here and you add a document and you hit save, yeah, you see the sync here happening, and then the document being sent to Couchbase server. And then if you go to Couchbase server here and you add a document, you save this document, let's say, you see the synchronization coming back from Couchbase server. So this is a really handy to help you to debug why I'm not getting those specific documents. And what else? Next, we are adding, one of the current things that we're working on is adding FTS support search. So Couchbase has just added support for vector search as well, right? But we also support full text search in general. So we are working on adding full text search support for the plugin. And we're trying to create some query designer so you don't need to remember the syntax from full text search. But at the end of the day, just to finish here, Brian, this is made for you guys. So whatever you think it's cumbersome or whatever you say, hey, it would be nice if I have this feature here, just go and open a ticket to the projects, both the JetBrains and the VSCode, and they kind of work fairly similar. All the features here should be there on VSCode as well, and we will get it done. I mean, the main thing is to make the experience working with Couchbase as pleasant as possible. So, yeah, I do hope that you guys can just play with it, and yeah, if it sucks, yeah, let me know why it sucks. If it is awesome, yeah, cool. If you want to see something, yeah, just open a ticket for us and let us know, because we are actively working on this. And to be honest, I mean, I work at Couchbase, and those plugins are my daily drivers, because I already think that they are much easier than working with a workbench on Couchbase. So, and also the whole experience with NoSQL here becomes really straightforward when you have all this additional features, right? Good. That's what I had. I hope you guys enjoyed. Okay. And if you have any questions, yeah, feel free to ask.
Yeah, keep the questions coming. We have a little bit more time, so put them in the Q&A. There is one question there, Dennis. It's not necessarily related to the plugin. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer. If I stand up Couchbase myself, if I use Couchbase for data corresponding to about 300 megabytes and about 220,000 JSON data, how many gigabytes of RAM minimum is recommended? Does it sound like a huge amount of data? Sure doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, if you see our guidelines, we usually recommend 10% residence ratio, right? But if you before Magma, but we have a new storage engine called Magma that requires like in general 1% of your data in memory, because Couchbase is heavily uses caching, you know. So it depends. If you want to use Couch Store, we would say 10%. If you want to use something like Magma, around 1%. But of course, we need to see your use case to understand roughly what will be the ideal, how much memory you will actually need for your database. Of course, the more memory, the better, because Couchbase is cache first, right? So whenever you don't need a cache on top of Couchbase, because Couchbase is kind of a cache and a database together. It's pretty much like having Redis and Mongo in a single place, right? So whenever you ask something to Couchbase, we check the cache. If it's not the cache, we go to the database, and then we cache that. And then if you ask the same thing again, it will be in the cache, and then we just return that for you. But yeah, overall, I guess that's the probably we have something like that in our documentation, like 10% for Couch Store, 1% for Magma.
Okay.
Yeah, if
So
IQ is not enabled for your organization, you do need to double check if you go, because you have to accept the terms and conditions. It's not just like having IQ enabled. You also need to go there. This is one of the things we're fixing on the plugin right now. In the next version, you can automatically accept the terms and conditions from the plugin. But what happens is you need to go to the Capella workbench, and then you see a tab IQ there, and you click on IQ, and it will have some additional terms and conditions. You can just accept that, and then that should work on the plugin. On the next release that we are working right now, you can accept the terms and conditions directly from the plugin. But yeah, that's essentially how you make that work. I guess this is what was a question from Oliver.
yeah, I didn't see that come in, and well spotted in the chat there. So the easiest way, Dennis, to install these is right from within the tools themselves by just going to the extensions panel, typing in Couchbase and installing, right? However, they're also listed on the websites, right? So for VS Code, it's the Microsoft Visual Studio Marketplace. For plugins, for JetBrains, it's the JetBrains Marketplace, and that's consumed by a number of the JetBrains editors. However, it's also available, our VS Code extension is also available on the Open VSX Marketplace, right? I know of at least 2 other tools that consume extensions from there, where you'll be able to use it, and they are Red Hat Codespaces, which is part of Red Hat's OpenShift offering, and also Eclipse, the open source web-based IDE from Eclipse, which is actually kind of, I would say, a blueprint that's used by a number of other organizations as well. But do you know, Dennis, any other editors where you can use our plugin?
Yeah, I mean, with OpenVS6, you can just download the package and install on anything that is VS Code compatible. Yeah. But if you want to see the plugins in a new platform that we don't support, yeah, just give us a shot. I mean, again, it's not that hard to adapt the code that we already wrote to a new platform. So in theory, perhaps that's something we can take a look at. We can at least evaluate doing that as well. So again, it's the more feedback you guys give us, the better.
Okay. Just checking. Any other questions? Going once. Going twice. I think that's it. The thanks are coming in. So yes, thank you very much, Dennis. Thanks for the great work on the plugins. Developers everywhere using Couchbase, thank you. And as you said, we're going to be adding more features to it as we go along. And we appreciate everybody's feedback. That's it for today. We'll be announcing soon our next virtual community event. So keep an eye out for that on Discord and the usual channel. So that's it. Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.